Ladies and gentlemen, before I open my eyes and feel the light stretch across the room, before the buzz and the beeping and the pings call for my attention, something in my soul already knows I need more than a screen can give me. I need more than status updates, more than likes, more than messages. I need to be reminded that my purpose isn't defined by who's watching me, but by who formed me. That before I even take a step into my day, I must step into the sacred. Because if I don't touch heaven, I'll be reaching for validation in places too shallow to hold the weight of my destiny. We live in a world that's so noisy, so quick to tell you who you should be before you even remember who you are. You roll over and there it is. The world on your screen, loud and bright, calling for your attention before your spirit even wakes up. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole life reacting to things that don't even deserve your energy. You'll be drained before breakfast, anxious before your feet hit the floor, confused before you've even had a moment of clarity. But there's a shift that happens when you make a decision to touch heaven first. There's a strength that rises when you pause and say, before I touch anything temporary, I want to reach for what's eternal. That kind of discipline doesn't just happen. You have to decide. You have to be so desperate for peace, for clarity, for truth, that you turn down the volume on the world just to hear a whisper of wisdom, because that whisper, it will guide you more than any algorithm ever could. It's not about being perfect. Let's be real. Some mornings you'll miss it. Some mornings the habit will try to win. You'll grab that phone and 20 minutes later, you won't even remember what you were looking for. But don't let shame creep in. Shame doesn't get to sit in the sacred place. Just because you slipped doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you noticed. And noticing is powerful because every time you notice, you have a choice to choose heaven again, to choose your soul again, to choose intention over impulse. Let me tell you, the woman you're becoming needs you grounded. She needs you focused. She needs you filled up before you go pouring out to everyone else. She can't afford for you to be scrolling while your purpose is calling. She can't afford for you to be so consumed by comparison that you forget you carry a calling. You can't carry a calling and comparison in the same hands. One of them's got to go. So before you reach for that phone, reach for stillness, reach for strength, reach for the one who knit purpose into your bones. Because when you touch heaven first, your whole day shifts. You start to walk with a different rhythm. You speak with a different kind of confidence. You don't respond to every distraction because you know where your direction is coming from. You don't have to chase affirmation when you've already been affirmed in the secret place. When you've already heard you are enough, that truth carries you and notifications start pulling you in every direction. And here's the thing. Your peace is too expensive to be given away so easily. You can't afford to let every post set the tone for your spirit. You can't afford to let a highlight reel make you doubt the process that's shaping you in the dark. Don't despise the quiet places. That's where the real work happens. It's where you learn to listen. It's where you grow strong roots so the wind can't shake you. You might not look like her. You might not have what they have, but you've got oil, and that oil didn't come easy. So why would you trade your oil for a like? Why would you lay down your power to keep up with a world that doesn't even know where it's going? No, not you. Not anymore. You're stepping into a season that requires focus. You're walking into rooms that need your full attention. There are doors opening that only obedience can unlock. So before you get busy trying to be everything to everyone, remember to be still and be filled. Let heaven meet you where you are. Let heaven remind you of who you are. And sometimes that looks like sitting in silence. Sometimes it's a whispered prayer before your feet hit the ground. Sometimes it's just breathing deep and saying, today, I will not be moved by things that don't move God. That kind of posture, it changes everything. It doesn't mean the day will be perfect. It means you will be anchored. And that anchor keeps you steady when chaos tries to climb in. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to know how it's all going to unfold, but you do need to know where your strength comes from. You do need to know how to pause long enough to be poured into, because when you're full, you're powerful. When you're full, you make better decisions. You speak life. You walk away from things that no longer serve your growth. You don't apologize for protecting your peace because you know peace is your portion. And maybe the hardest part is unlearning the need to be instantly connected all the time. You've been conditioned to check in with the world before checking in with your spirit. But that old rhythm won't carry you where you're going. The elevation requires separation, separation from noise, separation from urgency. You don't have to respond to everything right away. You don't have to be available for every alert. You are allowed to choose sacred over social. You are allowed to choose presence over pressure. So when your eyes open tomorrow and the light peeks through the curtains, pause. Not because it's a rule, but because it's a rhythm that keeps your spirit in sync with the source, a rhythm that reminds you your life is bigger than what can be captured on a screen, bigger than trends, bigger than opinions. And baby, when you move with that kind of confidence, the world won't know it hit it, because you're not just scrolling anymore, you're soaring. And it all started because you dared to touch heaven before you touched anything else.
In the stillness of the morning, when the world hasn't yet begun to spin with its demands and distractions, there is a sacred opportunity, a moment before everything starts moving, before the notifications light up, before the weight of expectation presses in. You get to choose what you reach for first. And in that moment, your choice can set the tone for your entire day. It's easy to go with the habit, to roll over and let your thumb find the screen, to scroll through other people's lives before you've even connected to your own. But there's a higher invitation waiting for you, a deeper one that says, choose sacred over social. This isn't about rules or religion, it's about rhythm. It's about the atmosphere you create in your spirit before the world gets a chance to shape your mind. Because when you start your day with the sacred, when you pause, breathe, pray, meditate, or simply sit in gratitude, you're telling your soul what matters most. You're declaring, I'm not available for chaos before I center myself in peace. You're saying, I need more than updates, I need alignment. There's a reason why starting your day with intention feels so different than jumping straight into the noise. When you choose sacred first, you step into your day with clarity. You're not rushing to catch up with what everyone else is doing. You're walking in step with what you're called to do. That alignment gives you discernment. You won't say yes out of fear or comparison because you've already grounded yourself in truth. You'll notice your thoughts more, you'll respond instead of react. You'll listen to your inner voice, the one that gets drowned out by the noise if you don't give it space to speak. Choosing sacred over social is also about protecting your mental and emotional space. The world is loud, it's busy, and it's not going to wait for you to find peace. It will keep spinning, throwing information, opinions, and pressure at you, but you have the power to choose what enters your space first. You can train your spirit to prioritize peace, to long for wisdom more than entertainment, to crave presence over performance. And when you do, you start living differently. You stop being pulled by every trend, every crisis, every post. You become rooted. You become unshakable. The truth is, social media has a way of placing everyone else's life in front of your eyes before you've even checked in with your own. And when that becomes the first voice you hear in the morning, it can shape how you feel, how you think, and even how you see yourself. But when you go sacred first, when you connect with what's eternal before you touch what's temporary, you build a kind of resilience that social media can't give you. You remind yourself that you are more than what people see, more than what people think. You are grounded in something deep. Isn't practice doesn't require perfection. Some days you'll forget, some days you'll reach for the phone out of habit, but grace meets you in the reset. Every new morning is another chance to say, today I choose presence. I choose depth. I choose to hear from within before I hear from without. And that decision, simple as it may seem, is powerful. It's how you begin to live on purpose, is how you protect your peace. And it's how you make sure that before the world gets your energy, heaven gets your attention. Because in a world that's always trying to speed you up, choosing sacred first is the most radical, loving thing you can do for your soul. There is a still power that comes with starting your day from a place of intentional peace. Before the demands of life come knocking, before your to-do list even has a chance to shout your name, there's a holy moment available, one that often goes unnoticed. It's the moment where you decide how your day will begin. Will it start in anxiety, in urgency, in noise, or will it begin in alignment, in stillness, in power? Setting heaven first isn't just a spiritual practice, it's a strategy. It's choosing to anchor your day in peace, not pressure. Peace isn't passive. Peace is a posture. It's a position you take when you choose to be still long enough to hear what your soul needs. When you make that choice to pause before the pull of your phone, to be quiet before the world gets loud, you're not just being calm. You're actively warring against the chaos that tries to consume your clarity. You're refusing to let external circumstances set the temperature for your internal world. You're saying, I will not be ruled by the urgency of everything around me. I will move from a deeper place. Pressure wants you to hurry. Pressure wants you to perform. It wants you to wake up and instantly feel like you're behind someone else's timeline, behind someone else's success, behind the endless stream of things that always seem just out of reach. But when you touch heaven first, you reclaim your rhythm. You remind yourself that your value isn't measured by your productivity. You don't have to earn peace. It's already been given. You just have to access it. And the access point is your intention. It's the choice to prioritize stillness over speed. That stillness isn't empty. It's full. Full of revelation. Full of wisdom. Full of the strength you're going to need to carry what's ahead of you. Because, let's be real, life will test you. People will pull on you. Challenges will show up without warning. And if you haven't anchored yourself first, you'll find yourself tossed by every wave that comes. But when you've touched heaven, when you've rooted your spirit in peace, you can walk through the storm without losing your center. You can show up grounded, calm, and clear, no matter what chaos tries to rise around you. Touching heaven doesn't always mean a long, drawn-out ritual. Sometimes it's a breath. Sometimes it's a scripture. Sometimes it's a quiet moment where you simply whisper, God, lead me today. Let me be guided, not just busy. It's less about the form and more about the focus. Are you focused on being aligned before being active? Are you choosing clarity before clutter? That's where power lives, in that sacred space before the noise begins. And it's in that space where you remember what really matters, where you hear the voice that says you are enough already. You don't need to chase anything to be worthy. You don't need to perform for peace. You're reminded that you were created to operate from a place of overflow, not burnout. You were designed to move with grace, not grind. But that kind of movement only comes when you're connected. When you take in the time to touch heaven first, the rest of the day can touch your peace. So many people walk through their days reacting to texts, emails, bad news, disappointments, and pressure. But when you choose to be proactive in peace, when you touch heaven before anything else, You stop reacting and start leading. You start living on assignment. You don't let the day dictate your pace because you already received your direction from a higher place. You're not flustered. You're not frantic. You're full of the calm that can only come from sacred connection. And that fullness is your power. It changes how you speak, how you move, how you love, how you lead. It makes you unbothered by petty things. It makes you strong in soft places, because touching heaven first doesn't just prepare you for the day, it transforms how you carry it. There is a war happening inside so many of us, and most days we don't even realize it. It's subtle. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It whispers through the scroll, through the endless highlight reels, through the silent comparisons we make in our minds as we measure our journey against someone else's chapter. That war, it's the tension between comparison and calling. And you need to know this. They cannot live in the same space. One will always silence the other. You cannot fully walk in your calling while carrying the weight of comparison. At some point, you're going to have to choose. Comparison is a thief. It doesn't just rob you of joy, it robs you of focus. It distracts you from the very thing you were born to do by convincing you that someone else is doing it better, faster, louder. It tells you that you're behind when you're actually right on time. It makes you doubt your gifts because they don't look like hers, his, theirs. But calling speaks with a different tone. It doesn't rush. It doesn't compete. It reminds you that what's for you is yours, and it doesn't need to look like anyone else's path. Walking in your calling requires clarity. And clarity comes when you stop looking sideways and start looking inward. When you stop scrolling through everyone else's life and start asking, what is mine to carry today? That question alone can break the cycle of comparison. It brings you back to your assignment, back to your rhythm, back to your voice. Because your voice matters, your presence. And the moment you stop trying to beat someone else is the moment your true power begins to rise. The world needs what's inside of you, not a copy of someone else, but the raw, refined, real version of you. But you can't give that to the world while being consumed with how someone else is giving theirs. So today, choose calling, choose focus, choose faith in your path, even when it looks different, because different isn't wrong, it's often divine. And once you stop carrying comparison, your hands will finally be free to carry your calling with both strength and confidence. So many of us are moving fast, but not going far. We're doing all the things, checking all the boxes, and still feeling empty. And it's because we've mistaken activity for alignment. We think busy means effective. We think loud means powerful, but real power, it's quiet, it's stable, it's consistent. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to be seen to be significant. And that strength is found when you allow yourself to be still enough to hear what matters.